everyone, welcome back. Or if you're just joining, my name is Maya and welcome to my channel, Cranley Place, where I'm posting content on scarf style, knot tutorials, and more. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to be notified of new videos, which I'm publishing weekly. In today's video, I'll talk about my top picks for the season now that I've had time and perspective to get over the initial reaction of wanting them all. But first, I'd like to share the key factors that weigh into my wish list decision making in the first place. Special shout out to Human Rights for All 09 for asking this question. I think I first heard about the Moscow rule of shopping from Susie Gershman, author of the Born to Shop series of travel guides. Under communist rule, Moscow was hardly a shopper's paradise. People bought what was available, whether they needed it or not. And applied to today's everyday shopping, this means buy it when you see it. Especially when traveling, this is something that I abide by because you may not have time to go back to wherever you found what it is that you want, and even if you do, it may not be there. However, this is not something I necessarily apply to online shopping, particularly when it comes to Hermes scarves, and especially when I know that there are likely other designs and or colorways that may yet come out. I don't know about you, but my first reaction during any seasonal introductions from Hermes is usually over the top. I want them all. But there is one general rule that I tend to use with extravagant purchases, and yes, I consider an Hermes scarf to be a luxury, not a necessity. So what's this rule? To wait at least 24 hours, and sometimes more. Why? I started doing this years ago mainly to avoid impulse buying. I've found that if I forget about it within that period and don't return to it, then maybe I really didn't want it in the first place. And this way, I don't end up with a bunch of stuff in my closet that doesn't get worn. It also allows me to remain open to other options which might actually suit me better. But if I do come back to whatever it was after 24 hours or multiple times even to the point of obsession, that tells me, okay, this is something that may really be worthy to consider. So for the most part, we know that it takes a while for Hermes to roll out their new designs and colorways each season. Availability can vary wildly by region and even within regions. Stores routinely get different inventory than others within the same state, let alone the same country. So how long do I wait before I start making decisions? For me, I prefer waiting as long as possible to get a complete picture, or as complete as I can, of really what's available both in terms of designs and colorways. This is to make sure that I love what's on my wish list and can stand by those choices. The last thing I want is to have buyer's regret haunting me because I bought too soon and later discover something else, whether that's a different colorway or another scarf design altogether that compels me even more. This is a bit of a guessing game and depends on your comfort level with some uncertainty, because certainly there are instances where I waited too long and missed out altogether, at least from Hermes, and ended up searching in the secondary market for a particular scarf or colorway. But that's a whole other story. Using this current season as an example, we are about 4 or 5 weeks in. While we've seen many new designs introduced, there are still some that haven't yet appeared on any websites, although it may be a different story in stores. As for other designs, when we start to see 6 to 8 colorways, not necessarily on the same website, but available on any of the global Hermes websites, that's a clue that it may be close to all the available color options for a particular design. And if that's a design I've been eyeing, then I'll prioritize my color choices. This last factor may not be an issue for some of you, and if that's the case, good for you, and please feel free to skip this commentary. But for me, I don't have an unlimited budget for luxuries like this, and that means making thoughtful choices about what I buy. So what ends up on my wish list is shaped by how much I'm willing to spend. I'll typically give myself a max number that I feel comfortable with and won't put me into debt. Because if I have to go into debt to finance this habit, that's a clear indicator that I can't afford it in the first place. I religiously pay off my credit cards in full monthly, which keeps things clean from a budget perspective. So, based on whatever that max number happens to be, which by the way has varied over the years as well, I will look at everything on my wish list and usually end up paring it down to something more reasonable. And yes, what's reasonable does vary from person to person. So what's reasonable for me, my budget, wardrobe, and what's already in my collection. My ban on blue scarves is a prime example. While I am still quite attracted to many of the blue colorways in various designs, I already have a lot of blue in my collection and really can't justify just one more, nor do I particularly want to part with anything in order to accommodate others. So, admitting you have a problem is the first step towards changing the behavior, right? That said, here are my top picks from the Fall/Winter 2022 Hermes scarf collection. Here's one I've been talking about since the first episode in my series on the Fall/Winter 2022 collection from Hermes. And the fact that I keep coming back to it is a good indicator to me that it's not just a passing attraction. I've talked about Geoff McFetridge in some of my past episodes, so for now I thought I'd share a few fun facts about Gene Kelly. Apparently, his initial life goal was to play shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but thankfully he left the Broadway stage instead, as well as his family's successful dance school in Pittsburgh, to make a name for himself in Hollywood. He also, in 1960, was commissioned by the Paris Opera House to create a modern ballet for the company. The result was called Pas de Dieu, which told the stories of Aphrodite and Eros, and was the first jazz ballet ever staged by the stately old opera. He received a 15-minute ovation and 27 curtain calls, and a few days later was made a Knight of the Legion d'Honneur by the Director General of the opera. He also performed at John F. Kennedy's inauguration in 1961. I think the gris rose blanc colorway looks so elegant. My only question would be how it would look with my complexion. If it washes me out, then I'll have to reconsider. I include this 70-centimeter design tied up in knots by Jonathan Burton, even though it is still one that I have not seen on any of the Hermes websites. This unfortunately happens sometimes and will likely require some hunting, either in person or by phone at one or more of the boutiques. A couple of seasons ago, this happened here in the U.S. with many of the double-face scarves and even some of the 90s never showing up on the website. Anyways, I am holding out to see what colorways may be available in this charming design. We will have to see. This design by Carine Brancowitz has indeed appeared on some of the global websites, as I've covered in past episodes, and remains one that I have been attracted to from the very start and continue to be so. The dog park, as it were, is no ordinary venue, but in fact the gardens of the Villa Borghese, reconstructed here in the form of camouflage. The villa itself was constructed at the start of the 17th century for the Cardinal Scipione Caffarelli Borghese, nephew of Pope Paul V, and it's surrounded by one of the largest and what is considered to be one of the most beautiful public parks in Rome. Open from dawn to dusk, it is free to enter. So far, I have still only seen this in maybe 5 colorways, and certainly not all on the US website. I am especially drawn to the aubergine, vert, and multicolor version, and have a feeling that this is one I will have to call around for. Robe Legere is another one that caught my attention from the start. According to the backstory on Hermes.com, spring has sprung and the horse rears up like an inspirational muse, showing off its coat of flowers and leaves from the 4 corners of the world. I do love the rose lipstick Vieux Rose and cream colorway, but remain interested in one of the first options I saw for this design, and that is the Marine Parme Rose one. Logically, I know this is quite a dark navy, and therefore I should exclude it from my list, but doesn't it look black to you? I don't know, it's so stunning. The Sacre des Saisons, translating to the coronation of the seasons, is also one of my top picks for these graceful beans and balletic poses and wearing these remarkable costumes inspired by the 17th century Les Ballets Les Fêtes de Bacchus and Les Ballets Russes in the early 1920s. Incidentally, Ballet Russe was founded in Paris in 1909 by the Russian impresario Sergei Diaghilev. The original company included the choreographer Michel Fokine and dancers Anna Pavlova and Vaslav Nijinsky. Choreographer George Balanchine joined in 1925. All legends of the ballet world, which I am rather partial to. Ballet Russe, with its completely novel approach, really was revolutionary in the world of classical dance and transformed the future of ballet worldwide. But you don't have to be either a dancer or even a ballet fan to appreciate the beauty of this one. As I mentioned the other week, I've seen it now in 8 colorways, which is likely everything that will be made available for this design. I still love the anthracite gold and caramel colorway, but again, if that turns out to be too blue, I would choose either the Vieux Rose or Bleu Noir options. This is another double-face scarf for which I haven't yet seen all of the available colorways on the global websites. I am very interested in the first colorway I saw of this, which has some intense pops of color on it and is unlike anything I have in my collection. The fact that it's double-faced makes it even more compelling. New artist, distinct colorway, and double-face? Check, check, and check. This one is definitely on my wish list. This next design is another one that caught my eye from the start, and no doubt the eyes of many others as well. Shown so far in at least 6 colorways, this may be pretty close to what will be available and certainly enough for me to pick out some preferred ones. Of course, being a double face, you essentially get 2 scarves in one, and in the case of this wonderfully symmetrical but asymmetrical design, an extensive variety of patterns as well. Now, were I not excluding blue scarves from consideration, I would likely go for either the Bleu Azur, Bordeaux Vert, or Marine Crème Vert colorways. But in lieu of that, I find myself quite drawn to either the Rose Rouge Poudre Bleu Gris or the Bouton d'Or Crème Marron Glace versions. They all look so elegant. Honestly, I wouldn't say no to any of them. Then here is this giant cashmere triangle by Jan Bajtlik, which I have yet to see on the US website as well. It's a reprise of his original design from the spring-summer 2019 season, which was actually part of the men's collection. This does, on some level, remind me of Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are, with these fantastical monsters. What I like about the scarf is its array of textures and patterns, plus the giant triangles are surprisingly lightweight. I've now seen this in at least 5 colorways, so there's still maybe a few more to come. And all but one seem to have a touch of blue in them, but I am still swooning over the ochre colorway. So there you have it, my top picks from the Fall-Winter 2022 scarf collection from Hermès. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think in the comments. In future episodes, I'll share other scarf reviews, not tutorials, and more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new videos. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time!